The last time I saw my brother Connor, he was smirking across the pine-scented country club, microphone in hand, ready to bury me in front of 40 relatives. "Look who finally crawled back," he announced, voice dripping with fake pity. "My big sister, the homeless failure who's been lying about her perfect life for years." Laughter rippled. My mother's eyes sparkled with triumph. My father nodded like it was scripted. I stood in the doorway, tailored suit sharp enough to cut glass, and said nothing. Connor had hired a background check firm to prove I was broke, desperate, faking it all. He planned to drop the report right after the toast. But 30 minutes later, when that folder hit the table, every face went white. If you've ever been the family punchline and dreamed of the perfect comeback, smash that subscribe button, because this one's about to explode. 6 years of silence started that Christmas Eve in our Albany dining room, the one with the oak table that always wobbled on the left leg. Dad Bruce Brooks had just carved the turkey, steam rising like a bad omen. Mom Diane passed the gravy boat, her smile tight as she glanced at Connor, 23, and already wearing the smug grin of the family favorite. I was 27, home from a dead-end coding boot camp, hoping for a quiet holiday. Instead, Dad set down the knife and looked straight at me. "Valerie, Connor's launching his venture fund next month. You'll start as his executive assistant Monday. 9 to 5, full benefits." I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. "Dad, I have interviews lined up in the city. Tech firms." "Tech firms?" Connor snorted, leaning back in his chair. "You think those startups want someone who barely finished community college? Face it, Val, you're not cut out for that world." Mom nodded, sipping her wine. "Listen to your brother. Without family, you'll end up sleeping under a bridge. This is your safety net." The words hit harder than the cold outside. Safety net. More like a leash. I'd spent 2 years scraping by on freelance gigs, teaching myself Python in coffee shops, while Connor partied through business school on Dad's dime. Now they wanted me fetching his coffee. I pushed my plate away. "I'm not your backup plan." Dad's face hardened. "Ungrateful. After everything we've given you," Connor smirked. "Yeah, Val, run off to your big dreams. See how long you last without us." Something snapped. I grabbed the linen napkin, crumpled it, and threw it on the table. The gravy boat tipped, red sauce spilling like blood across the white cloth. Mom gasped. Dad stood, chair scraping the floor. "That's it," I said, voice steady for the first time. "I'm done." I walked out without my coat, the December wind slapping my face as I crossed the snow-dusted lawn. Behind me, Connor yelled something about me regretting it. I didn't look back. The drive to Albany took 40 minutes, long enough to replay every slight. By the time I parked outside a rundown co-working space on State Street, my hands shook with rage and resolve. I had $300 in my checking account, a laptop with a cracked screen, and zero plan. Good enough. That first night, I slept on the office sofa, a scratchy blanket from the lost and found. The building manager let me stay if I fixed their glitchy booking system. I did by 3 a.m., using code I'd pieced together from online forums. Word spread. A local nonprofit needed help automating donor tracking. I quoted low, delivered fast. They paid in cash and referred me to the state education department. 6 months in, I rented a tiny studio above a bagel shop. The smell of onions woke me every dawn, but the rent was cheap. I hired Garrett Lee, a former classmate who'd been laid off from a defense contractor. We split equity 50-50, no salaries. Our pitch: software that streamlined government procurement, secure, scalable, compliant. The state bit. First contract, $250,000 to digitize bidding for school supplies. We celebrated with takeout pizza on the floor. Garrett raised his slice. To not sleeping under bridges. I laughed, but the memories stung. Mom's words echoed. I pushed harder. Year 2. We moved to a proper office near the Capitol. Jenna Kim joined as our first full-time assistant, organizing chaos into spreadsheets. Contracts grew: highways, health services, emergency response. I learned to navigate Albany's bureaucracy, handshakes at fundraisers, late-night emails to aides. Competitors whispered I was too young, too female. I outbid them anyway. By year 4, GovTech employed 30 people. We secured a 7-figure deal with the Transportation Authority integrating real-time data for snowplow routing. Investors circled, but I kept control. No more family handouts. Connor's fund launched with fanfare, Dad's old factory contacts, Mom's bridge club money. I saw the press release online, ignored it. My focus stayed on code reviews and client demos. Last year, we expanded to cybersecurity audits for municipal networks. Jenna flagged a vulnerability in our own system during a routine check. I fixed it myself, fingers flying over the keyboard until dawn. The fix saved a county from a potential breach. They sent a thank you plaque. I hung it above my desk, a reminder that competence, not blood, built this. Now the company occupied 2 floors in a renovated warehouse. I had a corner office with a view of the Hudson, though I rarely sat still long enough to notice. Garrett handled tech. Jenna ran operations. I chased the next contract, the bigger impact. That Christmas Eve 6 years ago felt like another lifetime. The girl who stormed out had no idea she'd build something unbreakable. But silence has a way of echoing, and some invitations pull you back whether you want them or not. My phone pinged at 2:17 p.m. during a state contract review, the screen flashing a name I hadn't seen in years: Riley Reed. My cousin Riley Reed, the younger one who'd turned freelance journalism into a full-time hunt for scoops across New York and beyond. Her text landed like a headline: Grandpa Harold's back in the hospital. Docs say this Christmas might be his last. Party at the country club. Come home, Val. He keeps asking for you. I locked the conference room door, the click echoing in the quiet. Riley had always stayed on the sidelines during family wars, sending memes on birthdays and neutral updates from the city. A reporter's instinct for truth made her message impossible to dismiss. I minimized the bid document, $3 million on the line for emergency routing software, and opened my corporate inbox. A new forward stared back, sent from my address to N. HaleyBackgroundNYC.com at 1:03 a.m. Subject V. Brooks. Complete dossier request. Attachments included my Q3 expense report, a calendar invite for the governor's infrastructure dinner, and a grainy photo of me leaving the office garage 3 nights ago, timestamp clear. The forward traced to an internal IP, but the sender field showed my name. Someone had spoofed access. I shot the chain to IT with one line: trace now. Urgent. Full audit. Before they replied, Garrett called. Val, drop everything. Talk. Connor just went nuclear. He wired Nolan Hale's firm in Manhattan, background specialists, ex-law enforcement ties. Hale's pulling your tax returns, property records, even surveillance shots from our lobby camera. Connor wants a full takedown packet for the party, printed bound, distributed like holiday cards to the entire guest list. I stood pacing the carpet. Source: old contact at Hale's office. They're billing it as family verification project. Connor's exact quote: prove she's been lying about the CEO fantasy for years. Riley's message glowed on the second screen. The invite wasn't random. Connor needed an audience for his reveal, and Grandpa's condition provided the perfect bait. It responded within minutes: spoofed via temp credential created yesterday. Revoked. No further breach detected. Recommend password reset and MFA enforcement. Garrett added Hale's thorough. If he digs deep enough, he might hit pay dirt on Connor too. But that's not guaranteed. You walking into this blind, I weighed the risk. Stay away. Let Connor control the narrative unchallenged. Or show up, force his hand in public. Flight to Albany, I texted Jenna. Tomorrow morning. First available. Riley replied instantly, I'll pick you up at the airport. Grandpa will be thrilled. He smiled when I told him you might come. I opened a new email to Nolan Hale, no subject: direct meeting. Tomorrow. Your office. 10 a.m. His answer came in under a minute. Confirmed. Come alone. the pieces locked into place. Connor played offense thinking he held all the cards. He didn't know I'd just seen the first glimpse of his own hand. Nolan's office sat behind the Capitol blinds half drawn against the winter sun slicing through bare trees. I arrived at 9:57 a.m., coat dusted with snow from the short walk across the plaza. Nolan Hale rose from a metal desk cluttered with folders, a single monitor glowing blue, and a coffee mug ringed with stains. Early 40s close-cropped hair tie askew like he'd been up all night. "Valerie Brooks," he said, motioning to the chair opposite. "No handshake, no small talk." I sat briefcase on my lap. "You know why I'm here." He nodded, unlocking a drawer with a key from his pocket. "Connor paid half upfront, 10 grand wired yesterday. Wants the balance at the country club, hard copies handed out like party favors." He placed 2 thick envelopes on the desk labeled in black marker. "But I don't deliver half-truths. First envelope, V. Brooks. Verified professional profile." He fanned the pages slowly. "Top document, a state contract for $50 million over 5 years for integrated government procurement software." My signature in blue ink beside the governor's from the April signing ceremony at the Capitol steps. Next, property records for the Albany penthouse purchased outright 2 years ago, closing statement showing full payment from a business account. Investment summaries detailing diversified holdings in index funds and municipal bonds. Total liquidity north of 8 figures. No outstanding debt beyond a revolving company line of credit at prime -1. Event photos, me on stage at the annual Tech Procurement Summit, Jenna coordinating logistics in the background. Another of Garrett demoing the platform to a room of auditors. Nolan tapped the contract copy. "Your company's growth trajectory matches every public filing. Revenue up 30% year-over-year, client retention 98. No red flags in taxes, no liens, no complaints with the state ethics board." I kept my expression neutral, pulse steady. And the second, he hesitated, eyes flicking to the door as if checking for eavesdroppers. "This one's off the books." Second envelope, C. Brooks. Unauthorized financial transactions. Wire confirmations, 6 separate transfers from his venture capital fund to a Cayman Islands entity registered under a Shell LLC, then routed back to his personal checking account in Manhattan. Aggregate total $1.2 million over 14 months. Partner emails attached, one demanding repayment labeled as consulting fees for strategic advisory, another threatening legal action if not returned by quarter close. An internal memo from Connor to his CFO, delay external audit until after family holiday event, use drama to deflect scrutiny. My fingers traced the wire numbers, each one a nail in his coffin. "You're handing this over?" Nolan leaned back, chair creaking. "I have a younger brother. Parents crowned him the golden child, full ride to college on a baseball scholarship, seed money for his first startup. I covered his overdrafts, his bad investments, until he vanished with my retirement fund and left me holding the bag. Connor's treating me like the family fix-it guy. I don't play that role anymore." He pushed both envelopes toward me, corners crisp. "Duplicates. Originals stay in my safe until I decide next steps." You walk into that party knowing exactly what he's holding and what he's hiding. "Why burn your client?" I asked, securing the envelopes. In 2 nights before the party, my inbox lit up at 11:43 p.m. with an email from Ryan, my cousin Ryan on mom's side, and the family's corporate attorney for trusts, estates, and factory disputes. Subject line, formal notice, cease interference with Harold. The letterhead read, Legal Group Albany. 3 tightly worded paragraphs laid out polished threats. Any attempt to disrupt the holiday event or slander Connor would trigger an immediate injunction, restraining order, and civil damages claim. Ryan signed off. Protect the family legacy. Stay away. I closed the laptop lid, the hotel room plunging into darkness except for the faint glow of the city through half-drawn curtains. Ryan had drafted Dad's will updates, Connor's fund partnership agreements, and every factory labor dispute for the past decade, always inflating billable hours and padding retainers. Now he aimed the full weight of the firm directly at me. My phone rang, Dad. I let it vibrate 3 times before answering. Valerie? He growled, the familiar cigar rasp thick in his throat. Ryan's letter is crystal clear. Connor says you're stirring trouble again, digging up old dirt. Come if you insist on showing your face, but sit in the back corner. No speeches, no scenes. Harold's frail, don't stress him with your drama. I'm coming for Grandpa, I replied, voice steady. He snorted, a puff of smoke audible. Always the rebel. Connor's fund just closed, another round, investors lining up. You still tinkering in your garage startup. Don't ruin the night for everyone. Click. The line went dead. Jenna texted seconds later, Albany flight options sent. Earliest departure 8:15 a.m. tomorrow. I opened the guest list Riley had forwarded earlier that week. 40 confirmed attendees, key suppliers, charity donors, 2 state senators, the budget director, and the procurement chief. Our highway maintenance bid needed one final signature. A casual conversation over appetizers could seal the deal before the new fiscal year. Grandpa Harold's voice echoed from childhood chess lessons in the den. Endgame matters, Val. Position your pieces first. I typed a reply to Ryan. See you there. Let him interpret the tone. Morning coffee with Garrett in the hotel lobby, steam rising from paper cups. He slid a small USB drive across the table. Encrypted client data backup. If Connor tries to hack the demo during your pitch, switch to this instantly, no downtime. Ryan thinks legal threats scare me, I said, pocketing the drive. Garrett grinned over his espresso. Lawyers bill fear by the hour. You bill results by the contract. Options crystallized in my mind like code compiling. Option 1, skip the event entirely. Connor wins the narrative unchallenged. Option 2, attend blind, react to whatever he springs, no preparation, high escalation risk. Option 3, go fully prepared, control. The outcome, turn his stage into mine. Choice 3, locked in. Grandpa deserved FaceTime while he still had strength. The senators deserved a direct pitch on efficiency metrics. Connor deserved a mirror held up to his own reflection. Jenna confirmed via text, flight booked. Private car to hotel upon landing. Riley followed up. Grandpa perked up when I mentioned you might come. Asked if you still play chess. My reply, tell him the queen's ready to move. Clock hit 7 a.m. sharp. I packed light, one carry-on suit pressed and hanging laptop charged. Time to the country club smelled like pine and roasted chestnuts when I walked in at 7:32 p.m. The foyer chandelier casting golden light on evergreen garlands draped over mahogany rails. I handed my wool coat to the attendant, the black tailored suit underneath sharp and crease-free. Riley spotted me immediately from a high cocktail table near the bar, her red dress bright against the muted greens and golds. She waved journalist notebook tucked discreetly in her clutch. Val, you made it. She hugged me, quick, voice low. Grandpa's in the corner booth. He's weak but awake and asking for you every 5 minutes. I nodded. Lead the way. We threaded through clusters of relatives and business associates, the murmur of conversation blending with the soft strains of a string quartet playing holiday carols. Grandpa Harold sat propped with pillows in a velvet-lined booth, oxygen tube discreet under his nose. His eyes still sharp despite the frailty lit when he saw me. I knelt beside him, took his thin hand. Queen's Gambit, he whispered, voice, raspy but amused. Accepted, I replied, squeezing gently. Dad stood nearby, whiskey neat in hand, nodding to old factory suppliers in tuxedos. Mom fussed with centerpieces on the nearest table, pearls tight at her throat, smile practiced. Connor held court by the stone fireplace, surrounded by a semicircle of investors and venture partners, his laugh loud and confident. He hadn't noticed me yet. Waitstaff circulated with silver trays of crab cakes, miniature beef Wellington, and flutes of champagne. I accepted one, the bubbles crisp, and scanned the room for the senators. One chatted with the state budget director near the dessert table laden with Yule logs and peppermint bark, perfect opening. Connor stepped to the podium at the front, tapping the microphone. A sharp feedback squeal cut the chatter, then silenced as he adjusted. Everyone a quick toast before we sit for dinner. Guests turned, glasses raised. He beamed a thick folder in his left-hand cover embossed with a private investigation seal. Family means everything, he began, voice projecting, especially when someone drifts far from the truth and needs a gentle reminder of roots. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mom smiled encouragingly from her seat. Dad raised his glass, higher eyes proud. Connor opened the folder with flourish. I hired top professionals to verify certain claims floating around. Transparency builds trust, right? Let's share the facts. He passed printed packets down each row. Riley received one from the person beside her, frowned, and slid it to me. Cover page in bold: Valerie Brooks, background verification report. Connor read aloud, pacing the stage. Page 1, alleged CEO of GovTech Incorporated. Page 2 claimed multi-million-dollar state contracts and luxury assets. He flipped dramatically, building suspense. Page 3. His voice caught mid-sentence. The room fell into a sudden thick hush. Valerie Brooks, Chief Executive Officer, GovTech. $50 million procurement contract with New York State Department of Administration. Forbes, 30. Under 30, technology category selected this year. The microphone slipped from his fingers, clattering hard on the polished hardwood floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Color drained from his face, leaving it ghostly under the lights. His eyes locked on the page, unblinking. Mom's linen napkin crumpled in her fist knuckles, white. Dad stared at the floor, glass frozen halfway to his lips, whiskey untouched. I stood slowly, my own packet open in hand. The Forbes logo glared back, official seal, full profile, publication date 3 weeks prior. Guests whispered, phones emerging from pockets to search the list online. Riley leaned in, eyes wide. You didn't tell me about Forbes? Surprise, I said, voice calm. Connor recovered enough to stammer. This changes nothing. The rest of the report proves. But the room buzzed louder. A senator approached me directly. Ms. Brooks, your routing software demo last quarter, impressive metrics. We should discuss implementation timelines. Another investor near Connor muttered, Forbes. That's elite company. Grandpa Harold chuckled faintly from his booth, the sound wheezy but triumphant. Checkmate, kid. Connor's planned triumph evaporated in seconds, the air thick with reversal. Connor flipped to the last page. The room went dead quiet, the clatter of silverware forgotten, amid the lingering scent of roasted turkey, cranberry sauce, and cinnamon-spiced mulled wine. His finger trembled on the thick, glossy paper, eyes widening in raw disbelief as the words sank in. Ryan positioned 2 tables away near the string quartet stand, where sheet music fluttered slightly in the draft, from the vents, lunged forward with surprising speed, and snatched the report from Connor's grip before anyone could react or intervene. Let me see that, Ryan demanded, voice sharp and authoritative, cutting through the stunned silence like a gavel striking wood in a packed courtroom. He adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses with one hand, scanned the final section rapidly under the warm glow of the overhead chandeliers, then raised the document high and read aloud, projecting with the practiced cadence of a seasoned litigator addressing a jury in open court. Connor Brooks. Unauthorized transfer of $1.2 million from venture capital fund to personal offshore and domestic accounts. Currently under active Securities and Exchange Commission investigation for embezzlement, securities fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and potential money laundering violations. Gasps erupted from every corner of the ballroom. Phones that had been raised moments earlier to verify the Forbes mention now lowered in collective shock. Mom dropped her linen napkin entirely, the crisp white fabric pooling on her lap like a flag of surrender. Dad's heavy crystal whiskey glass slipped from his fingers and shattered on the polished hardwood floor, amber liquid pooling dark and sticky around his polished loafers, the sharp scent rising to mix with the holiday aromas. The double doors at the far end of the ballroom swung open with deliberate force, hinges creaking loudly in the vacuum of sound. Two federal agents in crisp, dark suits entered, badges flashing gold under the chandeliers that swayed gently from the sudden draft. SEC Enforcement Division. Connor Brooks, step away from the podium immediately and keep your hands visible. Connor backed up against the wooden backdrop decorated with twinkling fairy lights, hands raised in futile defense, palms open. This is a mistake. A complete fabrication. Ryan, tell them. Ryan folded the report neatly along its original crease, face hardened into an expression of cold stone. I don't defend embezzlers. He turned his back, deliberately walking with measured, unhurried steps to Grandpa Harold's booth at the rear near the emergency exit sign. Harold shook his head slowly, the thin plastic oxygen tube shifting slightly with the motion, his frail fingers tightening on the armrest. Told you so. The lead agent, a tall woman with a tight bun, approached Connor directly, producing stainless steel handcuffs that glinted coldly under the festive lighting. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. The string quartet, frozen mid-phrase in silent night, let their bows hover motionless on strings, the unfinished note hanging in the air. Waitstaff froze with silver trays of untouched Yule log slices and peppermint bark balanced precariously. Guests parted instinctively like a sea, creating a clear path, as the second agent, a broad-shouldered man with a crew cut, guided Connor forward, his tuxedo jacket now rumpled at the shoulders, face ashen and glistening with sudden sweat under the warm lights. I stood unmoving near the center aisle, arms relaxed at my sides, the reversal complete and irreversible in the span of a single page turn. 3 months later, my phone buzzed at 1:12 a.m., blocked number. The penthouse was dark except for the city glow filtering through half-closed blinds. I let it ring 4 times, thumb hovering before answering. Val, Connor rasped, voice thin, cracked like cheap motel ice. It's me. I sat up in bed sheets, cool against my skin. Where are you calling from? Motel off Route 9. The one with the flickering neon vacancy sign. They foreclosed the house last week? Bank took everything. Investors filed a class action suit yesterday. Funds liquidated. Partners scattered. I've got nothing left. Silence stretched between us. I heard distant traffic in his background, a siren wailing somewhere on the interstate, the faint hum of a vending machine. I need help, he continued, words tumbling faster. Just a loan to restart. Seed money. Your family, Val. You owe me that much after everything. I exhaled slowly, steady. I owe you nothing. He pleaded, desperation rising. Come on. Blood is thicker. We're siblings. Blood doesn't buy loyalty. My tone remained flat, unyielding. These are consequences of your own choices. The line clicked as I ended the call. I blocked the number immediately, set the phone face down on the nightstand, and stared at the ceiling until dawn crept in. Morning headlines confirmed the fallout. Securities and Exchange Commission barred Connor from the industry for 10 years. Civil penalties pending, assets frozen, no appeals filed. I poured coffee in the kitchen, watched the Hudson River flow steady below. Lesson sealed: kinship earns nothing without trust.